In Russia, the repressions of those who oppose the war continues unabated.
They came to college without a summons, said they are interrogating me, so they recorded the data from children.
The police came to Elena Lazarenko, the history teacher of the Bryansk college, right during classes. The teacher was accused of discrediting the Russian army. She publicly condemned Putin for invading Ukraine. As a result, Elena Lazarenko has to pay a fine that exceeds her monthly salary, 40,000 rubles.
In the morning, they painted a penis on my door, and in the afternoon, the police came to my work. As a result, my teaching hours were reduced and my salary was cut. Elena Lazarenko, teacher, in a comment to the Bryansk Grumbler publication.
A similar story happened to Ksenia Melnichuk, an English teacher from Vladivostok. She was fined 10,000 rubles for reposting a publication about the crimes of the Russian military in Ukraine by the Holot Russian edition on the social network.
The expertise found in the post-linguistic and psychological science of incitement of hostility to the Russian military group from the publication in the media zona.
Vladimir Timofeyev, a veteran of the Afghan and Chechen wars from Irkutsk, risks getting a real sentence instead of a fine for an anti-war post. He dared to criticize Putin on his social networks.
Putin's ambitions and dictatorship, omnipotence and stupidity have led a giant country to the abyss and economic collapse, poverty and misery, shame and exile from everywhere, to blood, an aggressor country, a rogue state. What for? Why? For what? The Kremlin elder doesn't even know himself. Infamy, world condemnation and a logical tribunal awaits him. Vladimir Timofeyev in VKontakte.
The veteran's profile was blocked and now he is accused of justifying terrorism and discrediting the Russian army.
The level of repression is not such that everyone speaks out, but so allegorically as it was in the Soviet Union. Well, it hasn't come to that yet, because there are still people who come out like this and openly protest. But apparently it will acquire a greater scope gradually, and the tougher the repressions, the heavier the punishment for free thinking.
On December 1st, a new law prohibiting the publication of any information related to the war was added to the already existing repressive laws. Now the stories of the mobilized or their relatives about the lack of equipment, food, rusty machine guns and the lack of preparation before being sent to the front line can be recognized as damaging to Russia. For violation, one can get at least the label of a foreign agent, and this means restrictions on rights, and it, by surprising coincidence, is received by Russians who criticize the authorities.
There is only some semblance of law here. This is when they try to give such a legal form to arbitrariness by law. They try to give some kind of legal form, and for this they write some kind of nonsense laws, like the ones that will come into force tomorrow. But what kind of reaction from the authorities can be repressive? They don't know anything else. Yes, and it is difficult to assume that they will use something else. When the head of the country is a man from the KGB, Committee for State Security.
According to OVD Info, a non-governmental human rights media project, from the moment the so-called special operation was announced from February 24th to November 22nd, about 20,000 people were detained in Russia for anti-war position. 5,159 of them became defendants in administrative proceedings and 352 in criminal ones. They note that cases of extrajudicial pressure on opponents of the war are also not uncommon. Their property is damaged, they are beaten, threatened with reprisals, fired from their jobs and expelled from universities. Reported by Roman Smoler, Vasyl Panasiuk, UATV News.